Hi everyone, it's Holly. Today I thought it would be nice to make a video about frequently asked questions about cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and scoliosis. The topics that I will be discussing in this video are: what is cerebral palsy, my story with cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and scoliosis, early childhood experiences and making friends, my driving experiences, my college experiences, my work experiences, forming relationships, and lastly, I will be briefly discussing what scoliosis and what epilepsy is. So let's get started. Cerebral palsy is a neurological condition which is caused by brain damage before, during, or soon after birth, and it affects the way a person moves his or her limbs. There are three types of cerebral palsy: spastic cerebral palsy, athentoid cerebral palsy, and ataxic cerebral palsy. Spastic cerebral palsy affects 70 to 80% of people who have cerebral palsy and is characterized by the person having stiff and permanently contracted muscles, which makes it very difficult for them to move their limbs properly. Athentoid cerebral palsy affects 10 to 20% of people who have cerebral palsy and is characterized by the person having slow, irregular, rhythmic movements. Ataxic cerebral palsy affects 5 to 10% of people who have cerebral palsy and is characterized by the person having difficulty performing tasks that involve balance and coordination. There are three subgroups under spastic cerebral palsy, and they are spastic hemiplegia, which means one vertical half of the body is paralyzed; spastic diplegia, which means that the legs are mostly affected and the person can also have some involvement in the arms; and spastic quadriplegia, which means all four limbs are affected, both arms and legs equally. My background with cerebral palsy is pretty straightforward and simple. I was born on June 6, 1991. Before I was born, my mother got into a car accident with me, and that caused me to have an in utero stroke. By the time of delivery, I suffered from meconium aspiration syndrome, which means that I inhaled some of my own feces, and the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck. I was diagnosed with right spastic hemiplegic cerebral palsy at 9 months old. Growing up with cerebral palsy didn't bother me that much. Neither did it bother my family. I pretty much tried to compensate for my limitations with my right hand. But the worst part about growing up with cerebral palsy was my time in elementary school. I was teased for 11 years, from 4 years old to 15. 5 days a week, I was called crippled and mocked because of the way that I held my right hand and the way that I walked. It kind of tore down my self-esteem a lot. So I began to create a bubble around myself. And to this day, I am still a shy and reserved person. I do not talk much to anyone at all. But I am slowly breaking out of my shell. my driving experiences were the most important part for me because it kind of gave me a sense of independence. I got my driver's license when I was 19 years old on March 3rd, 2011. I was so excited. 2 months after I got my license was suspended because I have a medical restriction card on my license for my epilepsy. And I was in the hospital during that time getting tests done for my seizures and to see where my seizures were. So by the time the papers were turned into the BMV, my license was suspended. And to this day, I'm still trying to get my license back. Hopefully this summer, I will start back up with the driving lessons and work towards getting my license back. College experiences are good. My cerebral palsy and epilepsy doesn't affect me that much with school, but I do have a learning disability in reading comprehension, so it affects the way that I learn, and I have to be in special education classes and get one-on-one time with the teachers and stuff like that. I remember maybe around the spring of 2011, I was taking a Spanish class and I decided to talk to my teacher about my epilepsy, and he was very rude about it. I was missing a lot of classes because I would have seizures weekly. 4 seizures a week, sometimes twice in a day, and I would have to miss class for that. So he decided to contact the Office of Disability Services and let them know that he was planning on failing me. And I truly did not like that. I wish he would have talked to me about it personally. But I changed my major from Spanish to speech and hearing, and I am very glad that I changed that major. I like helping people who are disabled like me. It kind of gives me a sense of pride about myself, and to let myself know that I am making a difference in someone else's life. With working experiences, I am currently unemployed. I would like to find a job in which I would feel comfortable in, and in which I do not have to stand on my feet a lot. I would like to find a job doing clerical or assistant work, you know. So those are my plans for working. In the past, I have worked as a teaching assistant at Cleveland State University, and that was the most happiest moment of my life. I was a Spanish major then, and I just like languages. I like Spanish. I have a whole lot of books on Spanish, from the Spanish grammar, verb conjugations, vocabulary words, all that. I find that Spanish is one of my passions in life. So, with relationships, currently I am dating someone, and he seems to be a very nice person. I always thought that I was not pretty enough to date anyone because of my cerebral palsy. So all that I want from a relationship is respect. I would like for my significant other to respect me, respect my feelings, and most definitely respect my family. That's all that I ask for in a relationship. With past relationships, I was used a lot by them in personal ways, and that to me, I felt kind of disrespected as a young woman. So I'm willing to change that as I grow older, to find someone who is willing to love me for me and not to put me down for my disability or anything else that is wrong with me. Lastly, I would like to talk to you all about epilepsy and scoliosis. Epilepsy is a neurological condition in which a person has at least 2 seizures without any known cause. For example, if someone has diabetes and they have a seizure, that is not called epilepsy. You have to have a seizure without any known cause, just out of the blue, in order to have epilepsy. There are at least like 40 different types of seizures. They are breaking up into 2 categories: generalized seizures and partial seizures. Generalized seizures are seizures that affect the entire brain, such as the type of seizures that most people think of with epilepsy, which is grand mal seizures or tonic-clonic seizures. There are also myoclonic seizures, petit mal, or absent seizures, and benign Rolandic seizures. Partial seizures are seizures that only affect a small portion of the brain, such as the temporal lobe or frontal lobe. There are 2 different types of partial seizures, and they are complex partial seizures, which means that the person's awareness is affected in some way, and there are simple partial seizures, which means that the person's awareness is intact. The type of seizures that I have is complex partial seizures, and they start in my temporal lobe. with my seizures, it starts with this tingling sensation in my stomach, and then my heart starts to beat really fast, and then I turn my head to the right and I start to see flashing lights in just my right eye. Sometimes I have automatisms, which means there are repetitive movements that I do, such as rubbing my fingers together and shaking my leg back and forth. My seizures only last about 1 to 2 minutes. This past December, I recently had epilepsy surgery. I had a left temporal lobectomy surgery to remove my seizure focus, and as of right now I have only had one seizure, and that was on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, and I hope to successfully come off of medication without having any more seizures. Lastly, scoliosis is a curvature of the spine. The curve can be shaped like a S or just like a C. I was diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 17 years old, when I was still living in Chicago, Illinois. They told me that I had level scoliosis, which means that the curve in my spine is facing to the left. Maybe around a couple years ago, I started having these back pains a lot, and I decided to talk to my doctor here in Cleveland, Ohio, and I let him know that I was diagnosed with level scoliosis at 17 years old, and I asked him to check the curve in my spine, and he told me that my scoliosis was shaped like a C, and it is only a 5-degree curve. So I had to go to physical therapy to build back the strength in my back, and it worked a lot. I haven't had any more back pains since then. I think that the scoliosis was mainly caused by the way that I walk. I tend to walk on the side of my right foot, and I tend to lean my body over to the right, so that might have been the cause of it. And to better my gait, I have braces. I have a hinged AFO, and it works with giving me that heel-toe gait instead of me walking on the side of my foot. So, thank you for watching this video. Have a great day. Bye.